In this video, I'll be going over naming covalent compounds. So that means that we have two nonmetals. And if we're doing covalent naming, we have to use prefixes. So I have my first 10 prefixes right here. All right, and so our rules is that our first element is always our least electronegative. Usually it's not hydrogen first, and then we just have our element name. And then our big thing is that there's only one, you don't use a prefix. And then our second element is we just use our element name with our IDE ending, and we always use the prefix no matter what. Okay, so our first example, S3F6. So first, we're going to be using our prefixes, and so we know that we're going to be doing tri for this first one, and then hexa for our second one. And now to fill in the element names, so our first element, that's just going to have the element name, so that's sulfur. And then our second element, that's fluorine, and we're going to replace that last syllable with the IDE ending, so it becomes fluoride. All right, and so next we have CO. If there's no numbers, that means it's secretly 1 for both of them. And so now we're going to run into this rule, which is that if there's only 1 in the first element, we just ignore the prefix. So even though we could use it, we're not going to, that's how the rules work. And so then we just name it regularly after that. So our first element is just going to be an element name, that's carbon. And then we have our prefix. So now, no matter what, you have to use the prefix for the second element. So we are going to have to use mono. And then we have our element name is oxygen, and that's going to get turned into the IDE ending. So oxygen gets turned into oxide. And now you can kind of see we have this double O thing. We have mono, and it goes straight into oxide. So when it happens like this, and you have two vowels right next to each other, you can go ahead and just shorten it. So instead of monoxide, we're just going to say monoxide. So CO is the molecular formula for carbon monoxide. All right, so now pentacarbon decahydride going the other way. In this case, we break it down in the same way, we just go in the reverse direction. So our two prefixes that tell us how many we have of each are penta and deca. And so we know we're going to have 5 and then 10. And so our first one is carbon, so C, and that's what the penta is referring to. And then our second one is hydride, so H. And then we're going to have 10 of those. So C5H10. All right, and then we have our last example here, carbon tetrahydride. This is an example of something else that because there's no prefix right here, it must mean that that's actually just 1, because that's the only reason we wouldn't have a prefix. So we're just going to have carbon that has 1, and then tetrahydride, tetra is 4, so we're going to have H and 4. All right, hope this video explained covalent naming to you, and good luck out there with your practice problems.